The Constitution has given Kenyans the right to express themselves, whether in the digital space or in the physical realm. Having said that, I also want to remind you and the rest that will be listening to us is that people have also been given this government the power to rule. And therefore, all the sovereign powers of the people, the country belong to the people of Kenya. And so when we see the kind of harassment, intimidation that is directed at people who are expressing an opinion, which is a sacrosanct principle or in public participation, and particularly because the government is operating on delegated powers, and therefore it must be accountable to people. And one of the best ways for them to be accountable is people having conversations, where those conversations are online or they're in the physical realm. Having said that, I would like to remind us that Article 27 of the Constitution speaks about non-discrimination of any kind, whether someone has a negative opinion about you or a positive opinion about you. It says that the law should treat people equally. And so even looking at that article, especially clause 1, you need to relate that to Article 33, where people have a right to express themselves. Now, the government has gone further and decided to criminalize the right to expression. We understand that some expressions could be beyond limit, but even when it is beyond limit, we have the rule of law. We have systems, we have structures, we have institutions, and we have the law, and particularly statutes that can be employed, even if those statutes still look like they're unconstitutional. So to be specific, when you look at the Computers Misuse Act, the government has used that act to harass people who are expressing themselves. If you recall, the Gen Z protests were as a result of online expression. And since then, the government has been a bit, not really vigilant, but I think hostile to people expressing themselves, even where the conversations are geared to make this country work better. The case of Rose Njeri is there to see, and the unfortunate case of the Leto Juang is there for you to see. In that particular conversation, we should not forget that there's a proposed bill in the Senate, the Kenya Information and Communications Bill, which, if passed, is going to make the situation even worse. So it is important that Kenyans are left to express themselves and raise questions where we think the rule of law and democracy. It has two sides. On the one side is the government accepting openly that we are aware we are abducting people. I mean, for the president to say that all people who are abducted have been taken home, in what context was he saying that? So from my perspective, as a civil rights person, I think the president acknowledged to the whole world that yes, we have been abducting Kenyans. Be it as it said. The second bit of it is that it's a lie. We still have Kenyans who are looking for their people. Just the other day, people went to identify bodies at the city morgue. If people had been taken back home, we will not be rushing to the morgues to look at bodies. It means we are so unsure of where our people are. So at any call that we have people who are dead bodies that are identified, we actually go and confirm that it's not one of us. Having said that, when you look at enforced disappearances in this country, you cannot fail to see the hand of police. It is not possible that you can transport somebody in this country from one corner to the other without any law enforcement having any suspicion. So when you look at how enforced disappearances have happened, there's a whole footprint of either rogue or deliberate law enforcement agencies involved. We think this country needs to do a number of things. One is we need to go back to the Constitution and look at Article 2, Sub-Article 5 and 6, and say, is it possible that international laws and its principles become practically part of the Kenyan justice system? Partly yes, partly no, selectively, for a number of reasons. Number two, is it possible that Kenya can ratify the international law on enforced disappearances. We are aware that it resigned and declined that position. We want to demand that that needs to happen so that then we can be exposed to the privileges of even UN rapporteurs who can come in this country and help unravel some of these problems. It is difficult to remove the president from this conversation because when we made him president, we gave him all the powers to protect us. We give him powers to make sure that people live in dignity. We cannot talk about Article 28 with confidence. We cannot talk about Article 29 with confidence. Neither can we talk about Article 48 on access to justice with confidence because the people we give powers to protect us have actually taken the impunity to abuse us. What is professional ethics of any office holder? If there's a complaint about you, the most ethical thing to do is to step aside. It is only in Kenya, I'm not so sure if there are any other places, maybe in Africa, where people say, it wasn't me, yet we are investigating you. So the most ethical thing to do, if I was the DIG, I will actually step aside and say, let investigations be carried out. But when the DIG is even at the crime scene or one of the crime scenes, I mean, you start raising questions of how is that crime, what is the integrity of that crime scene? Number two, we have laws and processes in this country. If at all the DIG has agreed, he has actually acknowledged that he was the source of the complaint, then he needs to be suspended if he can't suspend himself. He needs to be suspended so that investigations can be carried out, and if at all there's culpability, then law should take effect. I will encourage Kenyans to exercise their rights, and vigorously so. Because for us to have this constitution that gives us opportunity to make the kind of noise and to make the kind of demands we make is because people committed to it, people lost lives, people were jailed, people were maimed, people lost families. We are at that moment that we must be counted. Even then, we must remind the government and people who hold offices that those powers are delegated, and they're either going to play ball with what Kenyans want in terms of rule of law, democracy, inclusivity, and social justice. If they don't, the law and the people will take what belongs to them.